Steve here again with an admission. Yes, I can be suspicious at times, but not necessarily superstitious, but certainly suspicious of what is the common knowledge out there. One of the things I'm a little bit suspicious about, although I'm not going to rest on my suspicions, I'm open to finding out truths as they come to me little by little. But I am suspicious about the whole cancer research thing that goes on. It seems like almost everywhere I turn now, there's some sort of a fundraising event for some sort of cancer, all different kinds of cancers. Now, don't get me wrong. I actually knew somebody, a family member of mine, who died a few years ago in basically the prime of his life from cancer, supposedly anyway. And it was not fun for his family, wife and kids, and for his neighbors and everybody else, and brothers and sisters and whatnot. But I'm still not going to say that there's not some sort of a business, more than just a cure, but a huge business going on. In fact, I remember years ago I was reading this book by Deepak Chopra, who I actually don't hold up as some sort of paragon of truth, mind you, but nevertheless I thought it was an interesting line. He said in there that he was at some kind of an oncology conference, and one of the comments that was made was that more people live off of cancer than die of it. And I guess his point was that cancer is a huge industry. And which is not to say that cancer isn't a huge problem. It's not to say that there's not a lot of people dying of it. Of course there are a lot of people dying of it, but there's a lot of people who live off of it. A lot of people whose livelihood is dependent on it. I mean, look at every major hospital. There's a massive cancer ward, right? So, and a lot of business interests involved in it. But it gets me, it almost turns into a bit of a religion. I remember the one event in Seinfeld. You know, Seinfeld, I always take it with a grain of salt, but nevertheless, a lot of humor has a certain amount of truth behind it in a way. And there was this one charity run that everybody was going on, and they all had to wear this pink ribbon. It was something to do with some sort of cancer, perhaps breast cancer or something. And Kramer, of course, he just refused to put it on. I'm not putting it on. I'm going to go on the run anyway, but I don't need to put that on. And he was ostracized and pilloried and threatened and so on for not wearing this. And that's often what happens when you have the throng of people out there believing in something, believing what they're told, right? All of this, it becomes a bit of a mania. It becomes more than what it is, maybe, is what I'm saying. Cancer still is something huge, but is it as big as the fundraising events want it to be? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But also, this month is in some places called Movember, which once again is the month of Mobro, right? The men's health, but largely to do with cancer again. It's a cancer thing, right? Prostate cancer and whatever other male cancers there are. So, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, there's so much propaganda that surrounds us. We're surrounded by propaganda, right? Because people want us to buy into their line of thinking for their profit very often. And even things that are dressed up, completely dressed up as noble, I think we should still be wary of a little bit and put on a skeptical views once in a while for our quality of life, I say. For our quality of life. Because if we step back and try to discern what's being said and say, is this an argument or is this propaganda? Is this an argument or is it propaganda? An argument, of course, is a statement that's supported. And it's supported, it's logically constructed, and then it's supported in that logic. If something's just a statement that, you know, it's all about the children, it's all about humanity, it's all about this and it's all about that, and it's all about our future and our health and our this and our that, and it's all just, it's very slim. It's nothing specific, and it doesn't, propaganda tends to appeal to emotion, right? See, like when Kramer was in there, he was being shamed into wearing this ribbon. There was no reasoned argument as to why he should wear it. It's that you're in this race, and look, everybody else is doing it, as though, now you're the odd man out. So it's and I think that happens a lot, and I think we got to be aware of that and say, hey, hang on a second here, what's the argument? Is that an argument? What's the basis of that? Are you sure? Are you sure that this ribbon is going to make a difference for cancer? And so on. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take from these movements, these Movember movements. Just be observant and watch how people fall into line with the propaganda, and be aware of it if we do, for that matter. I think it's important. I really do. And yeah, it's just important because it helps us to be ever vigilant and ever more awake in a way. It's not as though we're sort of freaked out that there's everything after us. No, it's not about that. It's just about taking the blinders off and realizing and asking the question, does this make sense? Is it logical? Is it true? And also, of course, on a different bent, along the lines of cancer, what's more important, us wearing some ribbon or wearing some mustache, or actually doing something about our health, doing our research, and then finding out that things like, a bit more exercise, and a better diet, perhaps, and good night's sleep and rest, and good quality relationships, these sorts of things. And also realizing that we're going to die anyway at the end of it all. No matter what we do, we're going to maybe improve the quality of our life experience while we're here, but we're going to die anyway. So, sometimes the scare tactics about too much red meat and all this stuff is maybe true, but I mean, we got to enjoy ourselves to some extent anyway, right? And that's also important to the quality of our life experience. Sometimes I wonder if maybe quality is more important than quantity. Good to have both of them for sure, but I think the worry about cancer is a little bit too much, because in the end, perhaps the reason why there's more cancer is because we live longer. And you know what? Everybody dies of something. And it used to be people would die because of old age. Now it's no longer old age. It's always a diagnosis of something, right? Because of course something gets us in the end. And it'll probably be one of the big ones. It'll probably be a heart attack. It'll probably be cancer. It'll probably be diabetes, or one of those things. If we get old enough, we're going to pick up one of them. So I don't know. Maybe it's overdone, the hype. And there's a good old question too. If there's so much money spent, I mean, Terry Fox alone, $100 million or something. I mean, there's billions of dollars spent on this cancer research, and it doesn't seem like we're any closer to a cure in many cases. So I wonder sometimes if maybe there isn't a lot of fraud going on. A lot of fundraising without a whole lot of results. And of course, it's all a big government junket slush bucket too, of course, because that's anything to do with medical is just incredibly highly regulated, and you're probably getting, I don't know, pennies for the dollar in return. So I'd be really leery about donating to stuff like that, because it's just I don't know, for each their own, for sure. I'm not going to make any suggestions, but quality of life at the end, we can do the best for ourselves for sure, and support that type of research that is backed up by some sort of a reason, evidence, and we can actually follow it through, rather than just emotional spin doctoring that goes on so much for fundraising about things like cancer. I don't know. What do you think? You gonna grow a Movember, a Mobro this November? I don't think I will, but I do every 2 weeks. I get a bit of a scruff going and I shave it off, so that'll be my Movember, I guess. Great chatting again. Steve here. We'll talk again.